Good morning, it's October the 19th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, your cannabis and psychedelics news source, found here at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com. Good morning, Glenn. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing absolutely great. I'd be doing better if it was sunny, but other than that, it's a perfect day. We get to have 14 degrees near the end of October, so we got to take it, right?
You got to take it. You got to take it. Exactly. We're going to have about the same for the next 2 weeks. I think we got 1 or 2 days that might be a little cool, but it's about that. It's fall, right?
Yeah.
Colors are going. We're actually losing a lot of our colors because, the leaves are falling.
They went fast this year, it seemed like.
Yeah.
They were green and then they're on the ground.
Yeah. Cindy's off today, so I'm filling in for Cindy. I can tell you, Glenn, we set up today's show. It looks like we've got like 7 articles that deals with studies or reports, and you can see why we got the word educational news within our name, with all that. But right off the bat, I got to say we've got a big story here that I went, wow, and that is by CBC News. It says the court challenged to Manitoba's ban on homegrown non-medical cannabis is struck down by a judge.
A Manitoba judge has upheld the province's ban on homegrown non-medical cannabis, saying it is within the rights to impose the regulation. The ruling is in a case brought before the courts in August 2020 by Homegrown, a cannabis advocacy organization, which argued that the Federal Cannabis Act does not give provinces and territories the permission to implement a ban, and that the existing regulation is overly punitive.
Wow. Did not expect this. In a written decision released last Friday, Manitoba Court King's Bench Justice Shauna McCarthy rejected a claim that the ban was unconstitutional and an infringement of federal jurisdiction. She ruled that the main purpose behind Manitoba's ban is to support the provincial government scheme enacted to control and regulate the purchase, distribution, and sale of cannabis in a manner consistent with public interest.
And Homegrown's case looks specifically at Section 101.15 of the Liquor and Gaming Cannabis Control Act, amended in October 2018 to include cannabis, which states that a person must not cultivate the drug at their residence. Manitoba and Quebec are the only provinces to forbid the cultivation of cannabis at home. Home production of recreational cannabis results in a $2,542 fine in Manitoba. Wow.
Wow, come on.
They said it's too punitive, and just reading that, you could hear it's too punitive instantly.
Instantly, yeah. Provincial legislation stands in contrast with Section 12 of the Federal Cannabis Act, which states that up to four cannabis plants can be grown at a residence at one time. Jesse Lavoie, founder of Homegrown, says he knew the case would be an uphill battle after the Supreme Court of Canada upheld Quebec's ban on homegrown cannabis last April, finding that the federal law should not be interpreted as the right to self-cultivation.
So obviously we are disappointed. However, after reading the ruling, we do see that the judge is very sympathetic with our cause. Lavoie told CBC News on Monday. He says there are plans to appeal the ruling as we feel that McCarthy did make a legal error. That's McCarthy's the judge. And that is why we are pushing forward with this appeal.
At a hearing last March, lawyers for Homegrown argued the ban doesn't help the province regulate the distribution or sale of cannabis, is instead a separate attempt to recriminalize home cultivation. That said, the ban exceeds the bounds of provincial regulation and veers into criminal law.
The government's lawyers, however, argued that the purpose for the ban was a means to ensuring that cannabis in Manitoba was distributed through licensed government sources and limiting access to youth. On the issue of jurisdiction, they argued the ban falls into the provincial powers outlined in the Constitution, including property and civil rights.
In her Friday decision, McCarthy wrote that Homegrown had not convinced her that the ban veers into criminal law, but rather was seen as a means of regulation and controlling access to cannabis in the interest of the public. I'm not satisfied that the dominant purpose or primary motivation behind the prohibition was to suppress a social evil or condemn an activity to which legislators generally approved. What's a $2,500 fine? Is that
Yeah.
not?
That's definitely punitive. And we've been through this before, and we're still going through it with our even the federal regulations. Uh, this is very disappointing for sure. Individuals who breach the Liquor, Gaming, and Cannabis Control Act can face fines up to $100,000 and a year in prison. That's not punitive at all, eh?
No, no, no.
McCarthy rejected Lavoie's argument that the current penalties are overly punitive,
What?
writing that although they are very significant, they are not so punitive as to demonstrate that the true purpose of the prohibition is to recriminalize the activity of growing cannabis at home. And I call BS on that whole statement by the judge. That's absolutely
Oh, yeah. A year in jail isn't
100
recriminalizing something?
up to $100,000 fine and a year in jail, and the minimum the fine generally is $2,500.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not punitive. That's okay.
Yeah. But the cannabis advocate has reason to be optimistic as the new government, being the NDP, previously promised to drop the ban. We're very hopeful that they will step in before we have to go back to court, Lavoie says. Premier Designate Rob Neo voiced opposition to the province's current rules in a 2019 Facebook post. I don't smoke, but if you do, we'll let you have 4 plants and align the rules with the national law, so you'll be able to do homegrown. Well, that's good news.
And once WAB does this, they can't go back on it. So it's going to be really, really hard to try and put the genie back in the bottle once they open it up. However, Lavoie says his fight in the courts will go on if the incoming provincial government walks back on the previous pledges involving the ban. If need be, we will continue to go to court, he said. We've been doing that for 3.5 years, and we have no problem doing it as long as it takes.
Wow, yeah. Wow.
Bravo.
Wow.
I don't understand how the judge can say that's not punitive.
Oh, that does not make any sense whatsoever. A year in jail, $100,000 fines isn't punitive?
Yeah, I can understand her saying the law is the provincial jurisdiction, maybe. But then to say it's not punitive when it's up to $100,000 fine, a year in jail, and a minimum fine of $2,500. What's that for a seed? I don't even know.
Oh, boy, good thing they got a new government.
Yeah,
they'll get that straightened around. All right, on to the next story. This one comes to us from the Marijuana Moment. Psilocybin eases psychological distress in people who experience childhood trauma, the study suggests.
A new study into the therapeutic effects of psilocybin suggests that the use of psychedelic drug can help ease psychological distress in people who had adverse experiences as children. Researchers said psilocybin appeared to offer particularly strong benefits to those with more severe childhood adversity. The study surveyed 1,249 people in Canada ages 16 and older who completed a questionnaire used to assess experiences of childhood trauma. They were also asked about psilocybin use, including when they last consumed the substances and their frequency of use and how strong the doses were.
Well, we found that the effect of adverse childhood experiences on psychological stress was lower among those who had used psilocybin compared to those who had not, suggesting potential benefit of psilocybin in treating the psychological consequences of adverse childhood experiences, the study says. The authors said the findings aligned with the other published research, such as a study of more than 213,000 U.S. adults that found that lifetime use of psilocybin was associated with lower odds of a past year major depressive episode.
And taken together, our results and the existing literature point to a positive therapeutic potential for psilocybin, the report says. While naturalistic use of psilocybin is very different from therapeutic trials, our findings converge with emerging evidence from clinical trials and suggest that there may be benefits of use outside of therapeutic settings. Of the respondents, nearly half, 49.9%, said they often or always use psilocybin to address mental health or emotional challenges, while 32.2% said they sometimes use psilocybin for that purpose. People who scored high for adverse childhood experiences were significantly more likely to use psilocybin for mental health, although high adverse experience scores weren't associated with increased likelihood to use psilocybin for other reasons, such as to enhance the senses for pleasure, to connect with others, to relieve boredom, or spiritual purposes, and for self-enhancement and understanding.
Importantly, the researchers wrote, there appears to be a dose-response effect, with more exposure to psychedelics being associated with greater psychological effect and improvements in psychological well-being. Authors also noted that feasible studies suggest that psilocybin has a good safety profile and low addiction potential, particularly at low doses and even among those with complex psychiatric needs.
Nevertheless, they wrote, psilocybin use outside of the care of a provider can result in adverse experiences, such as psychotic episodes or bad trips characterized by anxiety or paranoia. Among people who did not use psilocybin in the past 12 months, commonly cited reasons were not knowing where to get psilocybin, which was 41.5% of the population, being afraid of legal repercussions about consuming psilocybin, which was 82%, and being worried about a bad trip or negative experience while using, which was 48%. The paper, authored by researchers at Simon Fraser University, Athabasca University, University of British Columbia, and University of Michigan, was published last week in the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs.
The team's result adds to a growing body of research showing the potential of psilocybin and other ethogens to treat a range of mental health conditions. Last month, researchers at Johns Hopkins University, Ohio State University, and Unlimited Sciences published findings showing an association between psilocybin use and persisting reductions in depression, anxiety, and alcohol misuse, as well as increases in emotional regulation, spiritual well-being, and extroversion.
Those results were highly consistent with the growing body of clinical trial, behavioral pharmacology, and epidemiological data on psilocybin, authors of that study said. Overall, these data provide an important window into the current resurgence of public interest in classic psychedelics and the outcomes of contemporaneous increases in naturalistic psilocybin use. Meanwhile, a separate study from the American Medical Association recently came out showing that people with major depression experienced clinically significant sustained reduction in their symptoms after just one dose of psilocybin.
And that's coming from the AMA.
Yeah.
That's good. The findings aren't limited to psilocybin. For example, a peer-reviewed study published in the journal Natural recently found that treatment with MDMA reduced symptoms in patients with moderate to severe PTSD, results that position the substance for approval by the Food and Drug Administration as soon as next year. Another study published in August found that administering a small dose of MDMA along with psilocybin or LSD appears to be reduced feelings of discomfort like guilt or fear that are sometimes side effects of consuming so-called magic mushrooms or LSD alone.
A first of its kind analysis released in June offered novel insights into the mechanisms through which psychedelic-assisted therapy appears to help people struggling with alcoholism. At the federal level, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, NIDA, recently started soliciting proposals for a series of research initiatives meant to explore how psychedelics could be used to treat drug addiction, which plans to provide $1.5 million in funding to support relevant studies.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of positives on the psilocybin front.
There sure is, and they're running up a list there of all the different benefits.
Yeah,
that are coming from.
I mean, we read stories every week about it, and it amazes me every week. They're trying it for new different things now.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's one we've got coming up later on fibro. I'm going like, what?
Yeah.
Really? So I'm really interested in learning more there as well. All right, on to our next story here. This one comes to us from CanStat. It says a cannabis-infused restaurant opens in Edmonton.
A restaurant in Edmonton is now serving cannabis-infused food and drink on an invitation-only basis through a partnership with social licensed cannabis producer, a local licensed cannabis producer. CBN is the name of a new business offering infused products utilizing a Health Canada research license held by Token Naturals, a licensed cannabis producer located in Edmonton.
Co-owner of CBN, which by the way stands for Catering by Day, Catering by Night. Stacy Myson says it's a small restaurant space with a room for about 20 guests to sit at a long family-style table or the bar. The menu is created based on input from their guests, focusing on different flavors of cannabis more than any intoxicating effect. She says, we get to know who our guests are, the tolerance levels, if they've been consuming a while or if they're never consumed at all, and just figuring out how to usher them through an experience that they're going to enjoy.
A lot of what we are doing is looking at it more from a flavor perspective of the different cannabis plants and terpene profiles they offer. So looking at it as a culinary ingredient, not just something that gets you stoned. Guests at the restaurant need to sign a waiver before enjoying any of the dishes at CBN. They can also complete a questionnaire afterwards about their experience, a process similar to other research license holders in Canada.
Yeah,
That's cool.
there's one in Toronto there for cannabis smoking. It appears for education, Myson told the City News recently, it allows for conversations. It allows a place for people to gather and have the conversations that haven't been happening so we can keep moving forward and show the rest of the world, as more of the world becomes legal, that this is what we can be doing and this is the way forward.
Keenan Pascal, who's the CEO of Token Naturals, said he and his team were first approached by Stacy and her partner, James Mulholland, earlier this year, an opportunity Pascal was eager to partake in. We were approached by Stacy and James in June of this year. We had attended some of their previous infused dinners and were connected through the general industry. When the opportunity arose to expand the cannabis landscape in our hometown with capable partners, we jumped on it.
Pascal explains Tokens first received their research license for cannabis in late 2021. Then at the end of August, the license amendment was approved, expanding the research license area into the restaurant space, which allows the company to possess cannabis for the purpose of research and to transport, send, or deliver cannabis between the facility and the restaurant. As a manufacturer of drinks and edibles and more, we're specifically looking at research on palatable and taste, along with quantitative information on the experience of ingesting cannabis-infused beverages and food. Is what he meant.
This is under the larger umbrella of human sensory analysis. The pairing of culinary and alcohol-free beverages aligns perfectly with Token's lines of cannabis products and with the mocktails at our sister company, Token Bitters. We're also looking at this as a less formalized research around cannabis consumption venues and how they might add to the larger landscape of Edmonton. I think this is an awesome idea. Love it.
It would be the replacement of the sort of like the vapor lounges. Unfortunately, they'd just be cannabis lounges instead of vapor lounges.
I love how they're taking the culinary side of it. They're going for the flavors. It's not about getting stoned. It's about the actual flavors of all the different
flavor of it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
love
you can
that.
get it to, if you can get it to taste like it smokes.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
had I've had some pretty good tasting stuff, but I'd like to try a whole meal. Would be incredible.
Yeah, a whole meal would be good, wouldn't it? That's for sure. All right, on to our next story. This one comes to us from Mugglehead Magazine. Tilray to provide cannabis for Spanish clinical study on severe brain cancer.
Tilray Medical, a subsidiary of Tilray Brands Incorporated, will be supplying cannabis extract for a new clinical trial in Spain aimed at combating a severe form of brain cancer. On Monday, the major cannabis company announced its sponsorship of the upcoming study on glioblastoma. Sorry, the clinical trial will be conducted at the University Hospital 12 the October in Madrid by scientists from the Spanish Neuro-Oncology Research Group and the Complutense University of Madrid.
The trial will recruit 30 newly diagnosed patients from 8 specialized neurological sites in Spain. It will examine the impact of Tilray Medical's THC and CBD extract T10 C10 in combination with the orally administered drug temozolomide and radiation therapy.
Wow. The groundbreaking trial is more than an opportunity for Tilray to engage in medical research. It's a beacon of hope for patients suffering from glioblastoma, said Tilray's Chief Strategy Officer, Denise Faltischek. Wow.
The study will be led by Geno's neurologist, Dr. Juan Manuel Sanchez, and is being funded by the charity Medical Cannabis Bike for Tour Foundation, which is based in Amsterdam. Tilray says the study is a culmination of 10 years of civil society collaboration between the scientific sector and the medical cannabis community.
And biological evidence has been accumulating for over 15 years that cannabinoids have an anti-tumor activity in the most aggressive brain tumors, glioblastomas, said Sanchez. However, no clinical trials have been conducted to prove this hypothesis in patients. With this clinical trial, we can finally study the effect of cannabinoids on tumors that have not received an active treatment, he added.
Yeah. The MCBTF began raising funds to support researchers at the Complutense University of Madrid a decade ago who were studying the potential of cannabinoids for the treatment of cancer cells and glioblastoma.
The fact that Medical Cannabis Bike Tour can now independently fund a clinical trial in the name of science is amazing. Thanks to the sponsors and riders who made it happen. We hope this trial will reflect the hope illuminated by the scientific research for the participants involved, said the charity's founder, Luke Kroll. In May this year, Tilray Medical supported Italy's Cancer and Patient Care Conference on Cow Wellness, which was accredited by the country's Ministry of Health.
A study from the University of Colorado Boulder in April this year found that cannabis can significantly improve sleep, relief pain, and enhance mental clarity in cancer patients. Recent surveys have found that between 22 and 40% of cancer patients who use cannabis for purposes such as managing pain and anxiety, according to an article last year in the Journal of Clinical Oncology.
Mugglehead reached out for information about when the trial was expected to begin, and we'll update the article accordingly. And Tilray shares have steadily dropped 40% in the last year, and they're only worth $277 on the Toronto Stock Exchange right now. Wow. We keep hearing of Tilray over and over again, but everything I hear, like, great news, they did this, and then they lost money. They keep losing money.
There's a documentary out there that, documentary movies that I used to show. And I'm trying to think which one it was, whether it was What If Cannabis Cured Cancer or The Culture High. And in one of those movies, there is a doctor, a researcher, and I have him posted at the PACE website, where he talks about a patient with that brain cancer and how cannabis was used in order to defeat the cancer in that patient.
Nice.
So it's good to see that something like this is actually happening as far as a study on it.
Definitely. Definitely.
All right. On to the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. On to the next one. Last one before we go to break. And this one, we're heading off to Harvard and at Entrepreneur. And that is because, oops, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, guys. There we go. Harvard Creating Study of Psychedelics in Society and Culture.
Harvard University is creating a study of psychedelics in society and culture, an interdisciplinary effort across the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, Harvard Law School, and Harvard Divinity School, which aims to transform the psychedelics research landscape by producing cutting-edge scholarship and convening faculty, students, and experts to engage in discussion around their far-reaching implications. In a statement announcing the program, Robin Kelsey, Shirley Carter Burden Professor of Photography and Dean of Arts and Humanities, said the university is uniquely poised to become the most exciting place to debate, discuss, and innovate in this area.
Cool. The effort will be funded with a $16 million gift from the Grucius Family Foundation. Antonio Grucius, president of the foundation and founder, chief executive officer, and chief investment officer of Valor Equity Partners, said in a statement that Harvard is the ideal place to explore the topic of psychedelics from new angles and to craft a framework for their legal, safe, and appropriate impact on society. In a statement, Michael Pollan, professor of the practice in Harvard's creative writing program, and Louis K. Chan, arts lecturer, described the gift as a visionary in that it is the first to take the so-called psychedelic renaissance beyond medicine by recognizing the importance of the humanities in exploring the impact and potential of these remarkable substances.
And Bruno Carvalho, interim director of Mahindra Humanities Center, said in a statement that the initiative will give researchers the space to explore and enrich public dialogue around psychedelics, including their potentials as well as ethical and social implications. In 2021, the Petri Flom Center for Health Law Policy, Biotechnology, and Bioethics at Harvard Law School established its project on psychedelics law and regulation to examine the ethical, legal, and social implications of psychedelics in research, commerce, and therapeutics. Additionally, the Center for the Study of World Religions at Harvard Divinity School examines psychedelics as they relate to altered states of consciousness, the relationship of mind and matter, and the global history of spirituality and religion.
There you go.
And we all know psychedelics have been used for religious purposes.
Yes. All right. It's time to hear from our sponsors and for us to take a break. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News here at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBGTV, broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from, the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One is called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Welcome back to Psychedelics and Cannabis Education News as we're ready to start our second half of the program. Well, Glenn, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, there we go. Fresh toast. Marijuana shows promise in sickle cell disease treatment as the reports and studies continue in today's broadcast.
Clinical trial results indicate cannabis could provide an alternative or adjunctive treatment to sickle cell patients. Exact projections remain unknown, but the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, report that between 70,000 and 100,000 Americans have sickle cell disease. The disease causes a deficit in red blood cells and blocks blood flow throughout the body. This can result in chronic pain, with patients typically prescribed opioids, despite potential side effects like addiction, constipation, and respiratory depression.
But a new study published in JAMA Network Open finds that cannabis could provide an alternative or adjunctive treatment in sickle cell patients. The research, co-led by UC Irving Research, Kalpna Gupta, and UC San Francisco's Dr. Donald Abrams, who I know of, represents the first double-sided placebo-controlled randomized clinical trial to explore cannabis as a potential pain relief for sickle cell. These trial results show that vaporized cannabis appears to be generally safe, Gupta said. They also suggest that sickle cell patients may be able to mitigate their pain with cannabis, and that cannabis might help society address the public health crisis related to opioids.
The blind trial recruited 23 participants with sickle cell disease-related pain. They either inhaled a cannabis vaporizer with equal parts THC and CBD or a placebo over two 5-day inpatient sessions. Researchers then recorded how pain still affected the general activities, sleep patterns, walking, and the general mood of participants. Those who inhaled cannabis report general improvements in pain, with the effectiveness of the plant increasing over time. Subjects reported less and less pain interference in walking and sleeping, and their moods also improved. However, Gupta noted the difference between the cannabis group and placebo group when it came to measuring pain were not statistically significant. But from the results she saw, Gupta still pushed for more research.
Pain causes many people to turn to cannabis and is, in fact, the top reason that people cite for seeking cannabis from dispensaries, says Gupta. We don't know if all forms of cannabis products will have a similar effect on chronic pain. Vaporized cannabis, which we employed, may be safer than other forms because lower amounts reach the body's circulation. This trial opens the door for testing different forms of medical cannabis to treat chronic pain.
Yeah, people have been using this for pain for forever.
Oh yeah. Well, there was on Monday. Was it Monday? We did a report talked about cannabis, and when people started using it, and they talked like 800 or something like that BC, like a long
I
time
think
ago.
they've been using it since the day they found out what it did at all.
Yeah,
Since the day someone threw it in a fire and realized, hey, it did something for me.
yeah, exactly. All right, next story. study investigating if magic mushrooms can help fibro. This comes
University
to
of
us
Michigan.
from Number 7 News. Go ahead.
University of Michigan researchers have opened the latest study into the use of psychedelics for different treatments in what is a growing field of research. The study is looking into the safety and efficacy of psilocybin for treating fibromyalgia, the disorder that causes chronic pain and tenderness throughout the body.
It's the newest study of the university's Michigan Psychedelic Center, also called MPsych, which is run by Dr. George Mashur, the chair of the Department of Anesthesiology. Wow, that's a new word. The center launched in 2022. The university is the latest to open a center studying the use of psychedelics. There are currently 4 cities in Michigan that have decriminalized psychedelic plants, including magic mushrooms. They are Detroit, Ferndale, Ann Arbor, and Hazel Park.
According to the university, the study at is a phase 2A open label pilot study of a drug called TRP 8802. The drug will be used along with psychotherapy to learn about its safety and its effect as a possible treatment for fibromyalgia. To be a volunteer, you have to be between the ages of 25 and 54, American Indian or Alaskan Native, Asian, Black, or African American, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, white or Caucasian, currently have fibromyalgia, willing to change your medications, take experimental drugs, and affluent in English. Why didn't they just say almost anybody in the world is allowed to apply?
As you got read, I was following along there going, well,
that's everybody.
As part of the study, there will be a total of 15 visits, including 4 full-day visits over the course of 7 months. There will be 2 doses of psilocybin in a controlled setting with therapists and 14-plus hours of therapy before and after the sessions. Mashur said in 2022, "We are in the midst of a reconnaissance related to psychedelic neuroscience and therapy. Psychedelics are powerful tools to understand consciousness and also have potential to treat psychiatric disease. Our aim with the Michigan Psychedelic Center is to advance scientific understanding and clinical care through a responsible and rigorous approach."
When speaking to Mashur earlier this year, we wanted people to know that the work at the center is doing, and that centers across the country is incredibly serious work. We are serious, responsible, rigorous investigators. That's so important to me, he said. Everything we do goes through the exact same safeguards as any other research study or any study involving a drug.
Dr. Kevin Boenick, the principal investigator of the study, spoke to Michigan Medicine in August about the study. He said in the article, "It's important that patients build rapport with therapists because these are people with whom they'll have a pretty intense experience." According to Michigan Medicine, Boenicki's hypothesis is that talk therapy, along with psilocybin, could help people reframe their pain and negative associations with it.
Psychedelics have the potential to really help people who are stuck in these sorts of loops and behavior patterns, Bonig said at Michigan Medicine. They can give people hope to people who feel they have no treatment options, and that sorts of insights could show up during a psychedelic experience, may help people get perspective and a different view on their life and behaviors. Later in October, the Michigan Psychedelic Center is hosting a free public event called the Psychedelic Renaissance. According to the university, it will be an event to learn more about the growing field of psychedelic science from Mashur. and it's taking place on Tuesday, October 24th at the University of Michigan Museum of Art.
Yeah, there's a psychedelic conference going on in BC. I know that Cindy and Steve have been talking about. Check back on the Mushy Moment show, and you'll get some information on that. Anybody who's curious.
Yep.
All right.
Very knowledgeable people.
Yeah. Now here's an interesting study or report, and this one comes to us from the Fresh Toast. Data weighs in on if cannabis makes you dumb.
And there's a good little picture with a dunce cap there. Myths prevail, but science and data help lead the way to the truth, and it looks like cannabis is emerging from the stereotype. There is a list of movies showing cannabis-addled anti-heroes who the audience loves. We've seen the moronic cannabis toker in the countless movies and sitcoms, but is it fair or true? Data weighs on if cannabis makes you dumb.
There must be some truth to it, right? Well, the reality is reputable studies suggest little likelihood of a connections between cannabis consumptions and decreased IQ. In fact, a pair of studies published in 2016 reveals cannabis had little long-term effect on learning and memory. Further, this study suggests any cannabis-related cognitive damage that does occur is reversible.
Even the most ardent defender of cannabis use will cop to the fact that getting high plays tricks on your brain. This isn't any different than alcohol. We've all misplaced our car keys or struggled to find the correct word after a couple of cocktails or an edible. According to Dr. Mitch what is this? Early Wine. That's a name. I love that name. Mitch Early Wine, a professor of psychology at the University of Albany. Cannabis seems to affect a particular kind of intelligence, like short-term retention or vocabulary words and other information you might learn in school.
So yes, your brain is a bit jumbled if you consume heavy doses of THC, but what about the long-term impact? The two reports, one from Britain and the other from the US, reached the identical conclusion. It seems there is no evidence adolescents' marijuana use leads to decline in intelligence.
And despite the research, Nora Valco, director of National Institute on Drug Abuse, believes the jury is still out. She points to studies comparing brain scans of teenagers who use cannabis to those who don't. The scans show thinner, less dense connections between lobes among cannabis users. You would expect it will decrease your capacity to memorize things and to learn them, which is necessary for you to actually further develop your cognitive abilities, she said.
Now, according to Live Science, brain scan studies in humans suggest cannabis may be linked to anatomical brain changes such as shrinking of the amygdala, a brain region processes emotion, reward, and fear. In some people with genetic vulnerability, such brain changes might be enough to tip someone into schizophrenia, which is more common in people who have used cannabis. However, the genetic genes in question may lead people to smoke more pot and be more prone to schizophrenia rather than directly causing the link between pot and schizophrenia. Psychosis. So basically, those people are predisposed.
Yeah, and I've heard this many times put different ways, and it seems to be a problem with early teenagers and maybe early 20-year-olds, not developed fully, I guess.
I don't know. I was 13. Been something pretty steady since then.
Yeah, I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about people who are predisposed.
People who are predisposed.
And it affects them a little bit different than it does someone who's not predisposed to that.
Yeah, and that's what they were talking about there in the end of that quotation. Yeah,
and even Valkov concedes there's little proof cannabis caused poor brain connections. NIDA is supporting a study which will map the effects of cannabis on brain development. An adolescent brain and cognitive development study will follow 10,000 9 and 10-year-olds through early adulthood using neuroimaging to map changes in the brain. But how many 9 and 10-year-olds are using cannabis?
No, they'll follow them through adulthood.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so yeah, they'll probably like every 4 years or something, they'll ask them to come in and do imaging.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. So they say the bottom line is there's not much evidence of permanent harm to the brain, but you probably forget where you left your car keys. I know somebody that loses. I know somebody who loses their phone all the time, and they don't consume cannabis.
Whether I'm using cannabis or not, I still forget where I put my car keys. So,
yeah. Oh yeah. You know, we're all different, right?
yeah.
Okay. Last story of the day. And this one comes from the Entrepreneur. And a study says that cannabis consumers see reduced COVID mortality and better outcomes than non-consumers.
And a recent study published by the peer-reviewed Chest journal found the cannabis consumers who contracted COVID-19 had reduced mortality and better outcomes compared to non-consumers. Cannabis consumers who contracted COVID-19 had reduced mortality. Just read that same thing. According to a study published this month in the Chest journal, the study using the National Inpatient Sample Database suggests the beneficial effect of cannabis use may be attributed to its potential to inhibit viral entry into cells and prevent the release of pro-inflammatory cytokines, thus mitigating cytokine release syndrome. According to the study titled Exploring the Relationship Between Cannabis Smoking and COVID-19 Outcomes, cannabis consumers that had contracted COVID-19 had significantly lower rates of intubation, acute respiratory distress syndrome, acute respiratory failure, severe sepsis to multi-organ failure, lower in-hospital cardiac arrest, and mortality. Sounds like they had a lot better results.
Well, look at the percentages. Most of it is at least 50% better or more.
Yeah. I could have read all those. There's a lot of them though. So
yes, out of the 322,214 patients included in the study, 2,600 were cannabis consumers, which were described as younger and with the higher prevalence of tobacco use. However, other comorbidities, including obstructive sleep apnea, obesity, hypertension, and diabetes, were more prevalent in individuals who did not consume cannabis. A study published in August came to a similar conclusion, finding active cannabis consumers diagnosed with COVID-19 had better clinical outcomes than non-cannabis consumers, including the decreased need for ICU admissions or mechanical ventilation. However, that study included just 2 hospitals in the LA, California area, included just 1,800 COVID patients. Among those, just 69 reported active cannabis use, representing 4% of the total patients.
A study published in May demonstrates that the cannabinoids would lower the production of 2 proteins, antiogenism converting enzyme 2 and the serine protease TMPRSS2, which are commonly hacked by the coronavirus to create a new infection. Wow.
There you go.
So we didn't know that cannabis was a COVID fighter too. I had no idea.
People were talking about that back in the height of it all, and now the numbers are there.
I can't take things that people say like in the moment as gospel anymore, because there's 2 sides, and the other one side's going screaming everybody's dying, and one side's I try to wait for a little while, but this seems to be a pretty big amount of people, 320,000 people involved with that.
Yeah. It's not like a study of 20.
Yeah, and it seems like cannabis came out on top.
Yeah, exactly. Those are significant numbers. That's for sure. All right, Glenn, we are done as far as our news stories for today.
We went through them fast.
We did.
I think we had 9 stories too.
Yeah, we did. We had 9 stories, and we've already run the gauntlet on them. Now, one thing I want to mention, and we were talking about this, and that was before the show, and that was damn vape pens. This morning, I thought I'd try, doing vape pens and stuff, and I had this one cartridge, and it ended up breaking my charger. What happened is it leaked out of the bottom. There was some little residue in there, and it stuck to the metal tab in the charger. So when I unscrewed it and pulled it out, it broke the charger. Well, I never even connected in what was going on. What happens? Well, I had to go out and buy a new battery and charger. I wanted a new charger, but they didn't just have the charger. I had to buy the battery and a charger.
Yeah.
So I got it all charged up and I'm using it. So what happens? I go to change the freaking cartridge this morning. Look, it freaking pulled it apart. I haven't even killed this battery yet. It's dead now.
It's dead now, yeah.
But it's almost fully charged. Like,
so that one cartridge took out 2 products from you.
Yeah. The thing is, though, the cartridges don't have any information on them other than it just says THC on them, right? And I go down. We got a store here in town. So yeah, what can you do? What can you do?
Now, I've never heard of anybody having to return one of those cartridges. Can you even return the cartridge? Like, how does that work?
I don't think so. Well, I don't know. You're finding
because it's obviously faulty, right?
Yeah. Well, that's not the only thing that cartridge itself. I wouldn't know which store I bought that cartridge at, though, to take it back.
I'm just thinking, if you did, I wonder if they would even take it back. I've never experienced that before.
I don't know. I don't know either. Because it's a pain in the butt. Having that happen. I don't mind the fact that some of them won't even empty.
Well, now you got to throw away your pen, you got to throw away your charger, and you got to throw away the cartridge.
Well, I got a battery that's good, but I don't have a charger for it because that charger that came with this one, the battery is no good. That charger won't work on my other battery.
Oh, of course not.
Of course not.
It's like every single thing I have takes a different end. I don't understand it. Like everything.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just getting frustrated. I'm sticking with my Shatterizer because I've got 2 of these. I've never had a problem with them.
If that's your worst problem you have this week, Al, you're blessed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thanks to the Shatterizer. All right, Glenn. Anything offhand before we say goodbye to everybody?
Nope. Purview to everybody.
All righty. Sounds good. From the legacy420.com news desk, that's the news for today. We hope you found it educational and informative. Thanks to legacy420.com, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, and Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, and to our viewers. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. And we'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.